prison time for gnomes. That's a problem, all right? That's a problem. But when we choose to experience a spiritual transformation, we become a part of his story instead of history. Verse 1, here's what I want you to do. God helping you, Paul says. The key phrase is that last part, God helping you. What that means is you cannot do anything. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm telling you the truth. You cannot do anything without God that will be successful or move in a direction that brings him glory. Do you get that? You can't do anything. An example for you to understand, some of you are like me, it's like having apple pie without ice cream, right? Or a musician without an instrument. It's pointless because you can't do it without that thing, minus the ice cream. You cannot go through life and make it in a direction that is worth anything if you do not have God at the center leading you. You cannot do it without him. Verse 1 continued. It says, take your everyday, ordinary life. You're sleeping, you're eating, you're going to work, and you're walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. So let's rewind. It says, even your eating, devote it to God. So what does that mean? Us Americans struggle with this, so let me help you out. It doesn't mean you can't have a cookie or a piece of cake every once in a while. However, and see how I couldn't even say that because that just breaks my heart to say that. But the point is, if you are stuffing your face with cookies and cake, or worse, stuffing your face with fast food, some of you I know, you like Brett Heisted, you have a fast metabolism. You could eat the world. It wouldn't matter. But that doesn't matter. The point is we are to take care of our bodies. If we're going to give our eating to God, we've got to watch what we eat. That doesn't mean you can enjoy a simple snack here and there. But the truth is, if we're going to take care of what he's given us, even our eating must be given to him. Does that make sense? Yeah, you didn't see that one coming, did you? Even your work life. It means work with a smile. I've seen some of you, particularly at Chick-fil-A. Okay, only at Chick-fil-A. Most of you smile. However, I have seen some that don't. And I tell you what, a place like Chick-fil-A that is invested into customer service, when you walk into one, let's say down the road at Copperfield, and they don't give you a smile or greet you at the door or say even the coveted words of, it breaks your heart, doesn't it? Now, that's a joke, but we must be devoting even our work life. It means we work with a smile. It means we work with a good attitude, that we don't start the gossip, but we stop it. That we go above what is expected of us, because that's what God's called us to do. We devote even our work life. It says sacrifice it before God as an offering. And I want to take 2 seconds and talk about this. Tithe and offering are two different things. A tithe is what the Bible suggests for us to give to the church. It doesn't give you an amount, but it asks that we give to the church, which we are ultimately giving to God. That's what we call a tithe. That's what's expected of us. But an offering is something that goes above and beyond. It may be $1, it may be $1,000. But an offering is something above the tithe. Now, why am I telling you that? Because that means you're sacrificing. When I was a kid, my dad taught us about tithing by giving us an allowance. Great way to learn about money. A lot of fun for a kid. He said in a conversation before we got handed the money that from now on, my lovely children, he didn't say that, I added that, I'm going to give you $10 every other weekend that you come over. That's awesome, right? I was 12. What he also said to follow that was that I'm also going to teach you about tithing. And so I'm actually only going to give you 9, and I'm going to keep 1, and then together at church on Sunday, we're going to put our tithe in together in their offering plate. But of course, I was a kid, so I wasn't paying attention. I was all excited. I'm getting $10. So I do what any normal kid does. You get online, you start thinking about what I can buy, right? 12 years old, not really thinking straight. I'm thinking, what can I get? Back then, music was huge. CDs were still out. MP3s weren't around yet. And so $10 got you a CD. But then that moment came where he handed me the money and he put it in an envelope, and I opened it up, and to my disappointment, there was only $9. I remember going, forget the 9, I got ripped off. Where's my other 1? That equals 10. And he said, remember what I told you. We're going to do this together, but I'm going to teach you about tithing. And I remember the first time the bucket passed and we had to put that dollar in, I remember I was so, it was like a funeral, man. You were just saying goodbye to the dollar that could have been yours. But we learned something. We learned what it meant to tithe. We learned what it meant to sacrifice. And we learned what it meant, you need to hear this, to take that tithe out before you ever touched your money. Because the truth is, if I had that 10, would I have given the dollar? Probably not. But when it was never an option, I changed everything. It was instilled in us. But it's a sacrifice. When we give an offering, and so what Paul is saying is when we give these things, we are sacrificing, but we're doing it for the greater good of God. Okay, I'm going to move forward. Verse 2. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you just fit into it without even thinking. In other words, don't be a puppet. Okay? I heard this story about a kid, poor kid. He always got beat up, and he got his lunch money stolen. Anybody ever been there before? You're old enough now to admit it. Okay? A couple of us. All right? This poor kid, every day he'd go to school. He had $5. Every day that $5 would disappear before lunch because the bully would beat him up and take it. So one day the kid decided to fight back. So he went to take karate lessons. He started taking karate lessons and then learned that the teacher wanted $5 from him to give him the lesson. So he said, forget it, I'm just going to let the bully take my money. He took the easy way out. Now, that's life sometimes, isn't it? Doesn't it seem that way? Seems like things just don't seem to go right. What Paul is saying is we are not to be like the culture. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be some moments when we fight back, not physically, but when we have to fight back. When you may be the only one standing up for something good and everyone else has gone a different direction. It's not easy, but there is a reward that is unexplainable when we follow that. Does that make sense? It's huge. Continuing on, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. When God comes in, he changes everything. He changes everything. He changes everything. What you'll find, and we talked about this briefly while we were talking about dating a while back, as you are chasing after God, what you will find is the people next to you are chasing the same thing. So we talked about that's how you can find someone to date that's headed in the right direction. But what you also find is as you're chasing after God, all of a sudden he surrounds you with the right friends. And as you're chasing after God and pursuing what he wants, you find that your grades will naturally start to stay up instead of down, because what God is doing is pushing us to be better, meaning pushing us to work harder, meaning pushing us to put more effort in. And so what we would see is our grades reflect that if we're following him. Even better, your marriages have a much better